Darkstalkers needs to be violent and sexy. This is a recent quote from Max Dude, which is pretty funny and just encapsulates the whole entire vibe of the series, and you know what differentiates it from other media and how a sequel should be approached, I guess, and what the fans want, and how exactly Capcom can go about that if it ever happens. OVA. I mentioned this in the last layer. There were 3 short animations which basically go together. It's just like one big OVA or movie of the Darkstalkers series, obviously. And as you can see, it looks way better than the Western cartoon, and it's probably also better written. However, despite that, it's still not that popular just because people still see the writing overall as lackluster, which is kind of typical for these, sadly, and also for containing a bunch of inaccuracies to the actual series lore. Despite that, however, again, it's still much better looking than the cartoon or any other thing, so that's at least appreciated about it. QB's eyes. Yeah, this is a simple one, just being that while QB may have a human face as kind of like a ploy, her actual eyes are not those and are instead these big spots on top of her hair, which are more like standard B eyes. Harry Grimoire. So this is the kid from the Western cartoon, and he's supposedly the descendant of an old sorcerer who we never hear in the actual Darkstalkers games again. And yeah, people do not like this character for reasons that were stated beforehand, and most people probably don't even know his name, which is why it's its own entry down here. And don't expect him to see him in a game anytime soon, probably. Sorry. Crossover comics. We all know about the games, but there's also other media where the Darkstalkers crossover in. There was a Street Fighter crossover comic made with them, and something that's much less known probably is that there was a manga made for Namco X Capcom, which features the Darkstalkers characters. Fighting All-Stars. Yep, characters from these games are meant to appear in the infamous cancelled Capcom Fighting All-Stars, which of course became Capcom Evolution, and yeah, the rest is history, you probably know the rest, but at least we got Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 afterward. Marionette. Marionette is a secret character that you have to select in the random select through a certain code, and what she does is that she's not like her own unique character of her own moves and everything. She creates mirror matches, and before the round starts, you can see her actually coming down and possessing the body of a character lying on the ground, which is pretty interesting, and people want to see her as her own character if there's ever a sequel alongside this next entry. Shadow. Like Marionette, Shadow is a hidden character that you go into the random select and does not have their own moveset, and instead copies other characters. What differentiates him from Marionette is that once you defeat a character, you will see Shadow possess their body, basically, and then you fight the next round as that character, and then the process repeats itself once you win. D. So D is a secret character that's only in the PS2 Vampire Darkstalkers collection. And what he is that he's Donovan after giving into his vampiric side, and moveset-wise, it's him going all out. And he looks like Donovan's head on top of Dimitri's body, but red. And we'll talk more about that a bit later. He has his own unique ending in the game too, which follows up with this next entry. Adult Anita. Or at least an older Anita. This is another character that exclusively appears in that game and only appears during D's campaign if you play the arcade mode as him. And she appears as his very last opponent. Now, despite this, you don't actually see them like fight or anything, but again, like the previous characters, people want to see this version of Anita appear as a full-on playable character if there's ever a sequel that's made. Oboro Bishamon debut. So, Oboro Bishamon was fully playable in the latest installments of the final regular entry of the series, Vampire Savior 2 and Hunter 2. But despite that, he actually did make an appearance in the original version of the third installment, Vampire Savior. It's confusing, I know. He's a secret boss who you can meet under certain conditions, however, hacking gives him a more playable role. And that's the last layer for super surface stuff. Next up, we're talking about unused content as well as speculation stuff, so yeah.